Hello and welcome, I am Scrapperlock and this is City of Heroes. We are soloing the Stalker with Dark Phantom, who is level 43. We have 2 million XP to go to get to level 44, so lots of XP left to earn. And we are now on a story arc for Angus McQueen, Division Line. This is the first of the story arc missions, and we're going to do an outdoor mission, so this might be the only one we do today. We'll see. I already did a mission before this, so I don't think this will be a long episode unless I can't get this mission done. I often struggle with this map trying to get all of the portals and the citizens found. They can be very difficult to find. But this is sort of a battle amongst the Rikti. So two different Rikti factions fighting against each other. These are I think the Loyalists and the Separatists, or whatever, Restructurists, something like that. And so that's why it's called the Division Line. So we're going to have to go through here and see what there is to see, and click on what there is to click on, and things are going pretty well for this character. Right, the biggest pain in the neck in this mission is going to be the drones. But I've discovered something. Let's see if it works. I think the drones are fairly susceptible to ranged attacks, so their defenses work only against apparently melee. If you look at the two hit's not so bad for Shadow Maul because it's an AoE, and it's not so bad for ranged attacks, at least not for my laser beam. So that's actually pretty cool. When I see drones, what I've been doing is build up and shoot them. And it takes that, and Shadow Maul can take out pretty much, if the Shadow Maul is done while built up, can pretty well take out a drone that's orange. Let's go through here. So we got to watch the drones, right? Those guys are going to be the ones that are going to reveal me to everybody else. There should be some some glowies down here. Usually there are. Again, watching for drones, mostly because I'm not afraid of any of these guys, but I just want to know if I'm going to get revealed. They saw me. Okay, I should have attacked them first, but that's alright. Where's the Guardian? You must go first. There we go. Fortunately, the guys above the grate can't see through the grate. It's a blocking structure, and so they can't actually see. They don't have line of sight through it. It's interesting, as you guys know, I've been playing some war games. The one I'm playing now doesn't actually use things like, well, traditional range and hexes and stuff. It's more abstract, but in a lot of the ones where you have hexes and counters, you get different types of terrain that can, like there are basically three terrain types: open, degrading, and blocking. And open terrain obviously is clear. Oh, you guys are so annoying. Degrading terrain makes it hard to shoot into and see through, but it's possible. Whereas, where's the comm officer? Blocking terrain makes it impossible to shoot into or see through. And so, there's a similar idea here, which is that there's no degrading terrain, but this screen, even though you might be able to see through it, right? We can see things through it, right? We can see through it. Our character can see through it. But the NPCs cannot see through it. It is blocking. So, now why did those guys see me? Because I was over here, and they were seeing me through clear terrain, right? This is clear, and the air between here and there is clear, so they could see me. Now, what I really want to do is find one more portal, because my hope is that if I find one more that glows that we haven't clicked on yet, it will give me an asterisk to the other one. That won't necessarily help me with the people. I haven't found any prisoners yet. But this is probably one of the most annoying maps in all of City of Heroes, because it's got like 5 levels all in the same area. So once you're on one level and you've been through that entire level, right? Once I've been through this whole map on this level, I will not be able to see where I have and haven't been on the higher levels because they're above it. And it clears the map at this level, right? And then when you go above it, the map's already clear. So I really, this is probably the most, and it's a huge map, so it's probably the most frustrating map, one of the 2 or 3 most frustrating maps in all of COH to me. And it's because you basically have to defeat every single spawn on this map because you can't find everything. Now, it does seem like we're going to get all of the glowies. I actually wish I'd had all of the conscripts, because when there's one glowy left, maybe you can find it with the asterisk. Maybe. Right? I don't know if it's going to show up here, fortunately. We got it right there. Yeah, it didn't even show up. Right? So to me, okay, no asterisk on this. Okay, whoever designed this mission... Where are the people? Whoever designed this mission is a jerk. Right? They designed a mission on this huge map. I happen to know where those things tend to be, so I was able to find it. But they designed this mission on a huge map and no asterisk shows up, basically to force you to hunt for the needle in the haystack. And I feel like that's just a jerk move. Don't design missions like that if you're a designer. Ugh. Oh, I need my... There we go. Oh, I do want to post a little bit of an update. If you guys remember right, in an earlier episode, I was complaining that I had tried to order some trays for the counters for my war games. I just want to post a little bit of an update because I gave some slightly incorrect information. Or incomplete. So what I complained was that this company, Cube for Me, I ordered about $35 worth of, I don't know, 7 counter trays, 8, something like that, 7 times about $5 each, right? And they wanted to charge me another like $40 just to ship it to me because it was international shipping. So I said I'm going to order from a company that's in the U.S., right? GMT, which is a game company. They make games, and they also make counter trays, which apparently weren't on sale for a while because it says on their website, now back in stock. So you can order a set of 10 for only $22. That's $2 a tray. That's pretty great. When I went to order it, they wanted to charge me like $25 shipping. I was like, are you kidding me? This is still double. Now, I still bought them because there were games on my wish list that I wanted from that company. And it turns out that it's just there's a minimum, right? They're going to charge you up to a certain weight. It's basically $25 shipping. And then as you go over that weight, it will cost more. So I was able to buy 2 games and the trays, and the shipping only went up to like $27. So I bought the games. I was like, I may as well. So I bought Panzer North Africa, which is the newest edition of the Panzer tactical war game. But it has solo rules in it that come with it, whereas regular Panzer, which is a cheaper game, it's like another $70 to buy the solo expansion, the expansion that has the solo rules. And so yeah, I said, all right, well, I may as well. Again, it will cost me more money to buy the base game of Panzer, and the expansion that has the solo rules in it, than to buy Panzer North Africa, which is more expensive than Panzer, but less expensive than both of them together. And so I said, all right, I'll buy that. And then there's another one that was on sale called Holland 44, which is about Operation Market Garden, and it's supposed to be a really fun game, and you can solo it. It's part of a series by a designer named Mark Cernovich, I think his name is, something like that. And it's what they call the 40s series. So Normandy 44, Holland 44, Italy 43, stuff like that. And so that's the one that's available. It was on sale, and so I was like, all right, I'll just get that one and see if I like that style of game. Lots of gamers rave about it and say it's a really good style of game, and it's easy to learn and fun to play, and you can solo it. So if that's all true, then I could try to buy some of the other ones in the series, although, as I mentioned in a previous episode, a lot of these games are really hard to get hold of. One thing I will say in GMT's favor, other than the exorbitant shipping cost, one thing I will say in their favor is that they have this system they call the P500 program. And I don't know what P500. I think P500 stands for 500 people. And what they'll do is if people are asking for a game to be reprinted and reshipped, they will put it into the P500 program, and if they can get 500 orders, they'll print it. Right? That gets them enough money. They explain right on there, we need, it's like almost like a Kickstarter. We're going to need like $35,000 to $50,000 to make it profitable to reprint this game and ship it. So, if it's most of their games are about $100, yeah, it's a pretty exorbitant price, but that's what board war games cost these days. And so let's just do this. So with 500 people, right? For $100, that's $50,000, right? Because if it were $10, it'd be $5,000. So they get their 47,000, whether 37 to 47,000, whatever they need to print the game, and at least they know that they will break even on it, right? That will let them break even on it. And so like the one game I was looking at was at Ardennes 44, which is again in this series about Battle of the Bulge. That one has like 1,100 backers, right? So they made plenty on that. So I mean, I actually think that's a pretty good program. I just wish that did I come to the wrong place? I wish that more of the games in their stock, I guess I came to the wrong place. I thought it was down here. Were eligible for the P500 program, because they literally have stuff on their website. Okay, where the heck is this thing? They literally have stuff on their website that says that these games are out of print and will remain out of print, and we're not bringing them back no matter what, kind of thing. I don't remember exactly how they word it, but basically permanently out of stock games. Why you have permanently out of stock games listed on your website with all sorts of details about the game and exclamations of how great the game is, as if you're trying to sell it, but you're literally putting it in the group of permanently out of stock, we will never print this again type games. I don't know. One of the things that's attracted to me about the Panzer series is, since it is one of their signature series, it does seem like they keep that pretty well in stock. Panzer North Africa is a standalone game, but if I like it, then I would buy, there's a base game and 4 other expansions, and I'd be willing to buy that if it's good. Wasn't planning to buy that one yet because I still already have like 4 other games I haven't played yet, or 3 other games I haven't played yet, but I really need the counter trays because it's a mess trying to keep the counters in little plastic baggies. It's just such a hassle to try to fish for the counters you need in the little plastic baggies that I knew there was a Guardian in here. Where is he? I'm ignoring the drone until I get everybody else taken care of. So anyway, what I wanted to update you about, really the only thing I wanted to do was to correct the record. GMT is just as bad as Cube for me in the sense that you're going to be paying double for the trays if anybody who listens to me wants to buy that stuff, just in case. It's just as expensive. It's going to cost double the cost of the trays if all you buy is the trays. The advantage of getting it from GMT is that unlike Cube for me, which only sells trays and similar things, GMT also sells games, and if you want to play one of their games, you can order the game and basically piggyback the trays on top of the game as part of the shipping price, and your shipping will only go up like a buck or two. Right? Because I think I bought 2 games and the trays, and the total shipping was like I want to say $27, and it would have been 24 just for the trays, and it would have been 25 just for the 2 games, I think. So the trays themselves, if you add them to another order, don't add much because they don't weigh that much. But if you buy just the trays, there's some minimum, right? Up to X number, whatever, up to 3 pounds or whatever, you're paying 25 bucks. Why, I don't know, but I just wanted to make sure that I didn't mislead anybody who might be thinking of buying this stuff. Right? You don't have to be a wargamer. I used to use the counter trays and blank counters from Avalon Hill for my Champions game. Right? It was the easiest way to get stuff into the onto like hex maps. Where am I going? It was the easiest way to get stuff onto hex maps so that I could. I'm not gonna be able to get out of here, am I? I get so lost in these places. I hate this. The whole, like, we have to have mazes in role-playing games thing, I've said this before, is probably the most aggravating thing for me. I don't mind a maze when I'm in the mood for a maze, but when I'm in the mood to do a mission, I don't want a maze. I literally have never come to City of Heroes to play a maze, right? Like, if I want a maze, I didn't even need to leave. I'll get a book of mazes or something, you know. Anyway, can I get through here? I can't get through there. Of course I can't get through there. Why would I be able to get through there? That would be the easy way to do it. Anyway, I just want, you could, if you use counters for your Champions game and you need storage, Avalon Hill doesn't exist anymore. They used to sell them really cheap. And my recollection for Avalon Hill is I would not have bought them if it had cost me like 20 bucks to ship them. I was in high school or college when I was buying these things. I didn't have the money to pay 20 bucks for shipping. So I feel like Avalon Hill, what I used to do with Avalon Hill is I would put in an order for, like, say 3 or 4 sheets of blank counters. I believe, I'm trying to remember, I believe the counters were, maybe they were 144 counters per sheet. I can't really remember. So I'd put in an order for a couple counters. I mean, I had over almost 1,000 villains, so I needed a lot of counters, plus agents, plus superheroes, so I needed a lot of counters. But I put in an order for 3 or 4 sheets of counters for, I knew how many counters could go in a counter tray. I don't remember that anymore, but let's say you could put 2 sheets of counters in one tray of in one counter tray. So I would order like 4 sheets of counters, 2 counter trays, and like a couple of blank hex papers. And that would take care of me for like a year. And I mean, my recollection is that whole order would cost me, like, including shipping, would cost me like 25 bucks max. And then I'm good for like a year. Drones aren't so bad when you have the range attack and the AoE. When I'm paying attention to what actually hits them, right? The range attack seems to hit well. The AoE hits well. Shot them all. And then the Assassin Strike, because it has such a high to hit, because the base to hit is high on it, it the base accuracy is 1.2 instead of 1.0. So this gives it a much higher, right, 1.6 accuracy versus these guys are 1.3. So it's almost got the same base accuracy as these guys with the dual accuracy. They're 1.7. So that's what I want to use to hit. And then, of course, the Shadow Maul is working against not working against that high defense, because their defense seems to only work. There's a glowy up here. I heard it. Their defense seems to only work against melee. What did I miss? I hear it. There it is. I was on this map not long ago, one of my missions, and I didn't come all the way up here and didn't find whoever was down this little hallway here. So we're going to come on in. There's nobody here this time. Maybe the Richter don't know this is here because it's council. There was a council guy up there, but maybe the Richter don't realize that that room is there in character. Alright, so now we can go back down this hallway that I was about to go through. This is such an awkward structure. I can't imagine actually working in this base and having to, like, go around all these zigzagging corridors. I'm not talking about the cave, it's a natural cave, but like the zigzagginess of the way they built the structures in here. It's a little odd. Definitely the COH devs did not design their levels the way I design maps and levels in D&D or Savage Worlds or whatever. I always think about function, right? What would this place be used for if not an adventure area, right? It shouldn't just be something, at least when I'm doing it, I try not to make it be something that is just there to be adventured in, right? That COH literally does that. These are just adventure areas. But when I'm creating maps in D&D or Champions or now Savage Worlds, Deadlands, I try to think about what is the function, right? When I was making up Mina Devlin's school for gifted youngsters, her school for girls, right? What was I doing? I was like, okay, first floor, what would be on the first floor of an orphanage slash witches academy? Well, there's going to be an entrance room, right? There's going to be like a parlor where they can welcome guests and where the kids can sit around. So I made a parlor with a fireplace and some chairs and some bookshelves that don't have academic books, just, you know, recreational books, and also a little chessboard and stuff, figuring that Mina Devlin might be likely to come on over here, guys. Come on. Are you stuck? Are you kidding me? Get over here. Mina Devlin might want the girls to learn chess. Okay, he's stuck. Let's fight this guy. She might want the girls to learn chess, to learn strategy, right? So that the girls can, you know, become smarter about how they make decisions, that kind of thing. I don't know, but I thought that it would be the sort of thing that you might find in the parlor of the girls' school. So you have fireplaces and stuff, animal heads, which are detectors of intruders walking around the school at night. Then there's a dining hall with a lot of tables, and I figured out, okay, how many girls are in the school, and I put the number of tables and chairs that fits that. And then across the hall from the dining room is a classroom, which has desks and academic bookshelves and a teacher's desk and a chalkboard, right? And a little area where they have, you know, office equipment like school supplies and stuff. because it's a school, and especially on the first floor where guests and visitors might walk through, it has to look like a school. In case somebody like the sheriff walks through the area, it has to look right. And then there's a kitchen, and there's a pantry, right? Because that makes sense. If you have a dining room, you're going to have that. And then, oh yeah, I'm not going to be able to assassinate because of this stupid. What are you doing up there? Oh, these guys are so annoying. That is a cool I-beam, I will say. How did these guys aggro? Oh, they were above. Notice I'm just ignoring the lieutenant because he's being a pain in the neck. Now let's see if I can lock him. I don't know if that'll stop me from teleporting. Will you die already, you stupid monkey? How many monkeys are there in this stupid room? God, I hate the monkeys. All they do is create a bunch of gas that doesn't do anything to me, but makes the game hard to play because you can't see. Whatever dev made up the Rickety monkey should be shot. And yes, I'm being metaphorical. I don't mean they actually should be shot. Anyway, the second floor of Mina's lair, right, the school, has dorm rooms for the kids. They live in one big room with bunk beds. And then bedrooms for the teachers, right? And when I originally did it, I created 2 bunk bed areas and like a storage room or something upstairs. Oh, a ritual room, I think. And where Mina's teaching them how to do rituals. And so, 2 guardians, pain in the neck. I finished it. I uploaded it to Foundry, and realized as I was mucking around in Foundry, I realized, oh, I messed up. Right? There should be a room for Mina, and there should be a room. She has 2 teachers. There should be a room for the teachers. Right? There's got to be a place for the teachers, assuming they live in. Now, they didn't have to live in, but I thought it would make sense that you'd have the caretakers living in there. The cook and stuff don't, but the teachers do, to watch over the girls and teach them rituals at night. And Mina needs a room. So I reconfigured the whole thing and re-uploaded it to Foundry based on sort of the logic of what you would need to have in this building in order for it to be a school for witches that makes sense. Right? I want the school to be logical so that it makes sense, and when the players are walking through it, they can go, yeah, this place looks like it is set up the way a school for witch children, young ladies learning witchcraft would be set up. Right? It makes sense. It looks like an orphanage on the first floor and is presentable, but then it has like the ritual room and stuff, and Mina's bedroom and such on the second floor, which is, different. And so I tried to make it logical. When my group decided they wanted to break into the Bard's College in my Rome game, I knew there was a Bard's College there, but I hadn't planned to map it. And then they decided they wanted to break into it, and I was like, okay, I've got to map it now. So I went looking, and I found like a magical academy or something map somewhere that had, it was 2 or 3 floors, and it had this stuff. It had stuff in it that potentially made sense. I repurposed like one of the areas was like a danger room, kind of a training arena. I changed that. There was seating around it, and there was like a competition floor. And what I did was I changed that, and I said this is where the Bard performances are. The students sit and they do their recitals and stuff like that, right? Because they're bards, and so they would be doing performances of music and poetry and that kind of thing. We're still only a half hour in, so we're going to do at least one more mission. And so I thought that would be a good logical thing. So I took somebody else's design and I repurposed it. And I edited things, and I mucked around with it to make it have the rooms in it. Sorry, a bit of a yawn there. To make it have the rooms in it that we would expect a Bard's College to have. And not a bunch of rooms that you wouldn't expect it to have. And so, it is one of the things, I love City of Heroes, but one of the things that drives me nuts about City of Heroes is that none of the bases have any actual functionality to them, right? All of the bases are just places to fight. There's no looking at the base going, oh, this is, in this office, here's obviously what was being done here. Well, no. It's just generic office space that is unnecessarily wide hallways and things. Like, why would you have a hallway? Is there any way I can actually check this? Let's zoom way in. Do you really need a 36-foot wide hallway? Let's say 30 foot wide. 30 feet? Most big hallways are 15 feet wide, maybe 20. Why is it 30 feet wide? Because if you have a large number of spawns, a large number of individuals in a spawn because it's a 8-person mission, then it has to be big enough for everybody to fit. Right? So the logic of City of Heroes maps is combat utility rather than realism. And I prefer realism. Or verisimilitude. Doesn't have to be perfect. I want it to be fightable. I don't want it to be a 5x5 foot room. That wouldn't be good for a fight. But these giant rooms that are open and have no purpose. And look at what is happening on this giant floor? Like, this is a huge open space with columns, right? Plants. There are no chairs. There are no desks. Oh, okay. Here, there's reception over here, right? You've got like, this is some sort of a reception place, photocopier, filing cabinet. People come in here and you receive them, and this is a doctor's office or something. Okay, fine. Where are the other rooms? Why do you have all this space? This space that is 60 yards, 180 feet across, and there's no purpose to it except to have a little desk in one corner for reception and a men's and ladies' room on one side. That's it. This is just empty, useless, pointless space. Not in an entrance, like some sort of an entrance rotunda, just in the middle of a building. Nobody builds like that, right? Now again, COH, the purpose was not realism when they were doing this, but as a level builder, a map maker, when I play role-playing games, I would never make a map like this, because I would say, what's the purpose of these spaces? There has to be a purpose to it, because people don't just build spaces to be places where you might get into a fight if somebody takes over your office, right? It should have a purpose to it. But they need the space, because there might be a big group of 8 people coming into this mission, fighting this mission, right? And you've got to have room to maneuver. Same thing with the height of a lot of these things, right? These doors, right, my character is almost 6 foot. This is, by scale, is like a 12-foot high door. And the hallway is probably about 18 feet high. Who makes 18-foot high hallways in an office building? Normally, it's not that high, right? But again, it's designed for being able to do combat, right? And also so that you can pull the camera away if you're not zoomed in. I remember noticing that. I think I first noticed it in World of Warcraft, but I also noticed it in Star Wars: The Old Republic, that there were so many, like, you'd be going up the stairs, and the stairs are up to your character's knees. Nobody makes stairs that high, right? And you get to you walk into a building, and like an archway, and the archway is like 90 feet high, essentially, right? The ceiling is really high. Like just even the hallways in some of these places are, the ceiling is that high in a hallway, right? Why is it so high? It's so that you can pull the camera out if you want to, and it doesn't force you down here like this, which is what would happen if the hallway was only 10 foot high. I understand some of that is necessary so that you can actually have a playable experience, and I don't necessarily disagree with it, but when I'm designing maps, I'm always asking, what's the purpose, what's the function, why would it be like this, why would an architect design it like this, why would someone be using the space this way, how do they use this space when there isn't a battle going on? Because 99.9999% of the time there isn't a battle going on in this space. So I always tried to make it, I didn't want it to seem like that whatever map I had created, that place only existed for the purpose of having a battle and was designed for the battle. Even though it was, right, I tried not to make it seem like it was. I tried to make it seem like it would have a purpose outside of the actual gameplay, so that it felt more realistic, I hope. But speaking of spaces that, this brings up another totally other topic, but very important one. I just saw in a comment today, as of the time of filming. This was probably about 3 weeks ago now at your time. One of my brilliant commenters actually made a comment that, I should have explicitly thought of, but I actually hadn't thought of in a long time. When I was complaining about the 2-hit debuffs and that they're too extreme. And he made his point that's really, truly excellent, and I should have thought of and addressed, but honestly didn't even think about it. I'm playing these games exclusively solo, right? And so when the debuff hits, it hits me and it drops me to floor, right? But if you think about a group, right, he pointed out these guys are probably meant to be group challenges. And in a group, if the Nervous Spectre Demon does this auto hit on me, right, and reduces my 2-hit to nothing, well, there are going to be other people in the group who haven't been debuffed, and they can hit him, right? And so the devs probably didn't think in terms of, well, this is too much of a debuff for one character, because they probably figured, well, there will be other characters in the group, and this guy can only debuff one person, right? So he's not so bad when he can only debuff one person. But when you're the only person in the mission, all the debuffs hit you. And that's what floors you, right? And so that's actually a really good point. When I complain about the balance and everything, I'm literally only talking about the solo experience. But to be fair to the COH devs, this was not meant to be a solo game. And their position was always, you can solo it if you want, but the default state is groups, right? The default was groups of a few. You can go up to 8, but it was known that once you get into like 7 or 8, you're stretching what the engine can do. And you were stretching what our computers could handle with special effects and everything back then in 2004. And if you do just 1 or 2 players, you're going under what the optimal design, right? The optimal design was like 3 to 6 players on a group, and then they let the teams go up to 8 because maybe more than that wanted to play it, but you had to, and we all understood, everybody understood that was not necessarily the optimal size, and 1 or 2 might not be enough to fight things like archvillains and stuff, right? So I don't sit there and go, oh, archvillains are so ridiculous and unfair and unbalanced because you can't solo them, because I knew they weren't meant to be soloed, and I never even would say something like that. But the reality is none of the game was actually meant to be soloed. And so to be fair to the developers, as my one commenter, I'm sorry, your name escapes me at this point, but I do want to say thanks, because it is absolutely true that the original design was for group play, and the thing that floors my Brute or Stalker won't have floored your Blaster, and you can shoot them, right? Notice the Richter drones. Oh, they're such a pain in melee. But AoEs and ranged attacks do just fine against them. So if I'm tanking something and I can't hit the drone, I can just, you know, say to my teammate, type drone, just do this. Oops, shouldn't have caps lock on. But anyway, do that, and then my blaster friend will target the drone and take it out. Might even have a macro for it, if it happens enough. Also, you're going to have teammates that are buffing you, right? You might have a defender who's giving you plus 25 to hit and debuffing the drone. And so, yeah, some of the challenges that are super frustrating are frustrating to me, specifically because I'm playing solo, and they weren't really ever meant to be done solo, right? That wasn't the original main way to play the game. It was given to us as an option when you can't find anybody to play with, but it was not intended to be the default, right? And so I'm doing it as my default, and I pretty much exclusively do that, and then I keep forgetting, I've been kind of forgetting that, yeah, but this isn't, they didn't design the game with the expectation that you'd be soloing drones. They designed the game with the expectation that there'd be a group of you fighting drones, and that although the meleeer can't hit them, there'd be ranged blasters and defenders and controllers and stuff in the group who could help you out. And the fact that I'm not grouping with any of them, that's on me. So I do want to point that out. And that is something that, because I just have sort of gotten so used to the solo experience in City of Heroes, and because the solo experience in City of Heroes, I have to say this, they kind of did it to themselves a little bit, is so good, and it feels so well balanced most of the time, that I actually sometimes forget this game was never really meant to be soloed all the time like this, right? It was meant that you could do a couple solo missions while you're waiting for your friends to log in, or when you're up late and they all went to bed. But you're supposed to be on a supergroup, teaming with your friends, playing together. And if I did that, many of the things I complain about wouldn't affect me at all. Because in a group, it would all be covered. And I tend to forget that because I don't play with groups at all anymore. So I do want to point that out. So that's another correction. So this is an episode of corrections. Right, I issued a revised statement about the shipping costs of the trays and stuff from GMT, and now I'm also issuing a correction about a lot of the statements I've made about balance and stuff in COH. It's all done from the perspective of a soloer playing solo, and that's not the intended design of the game. The intended design of the game was always for group play with solo as a backup. Right. So when you talk about like why do they do certain things, well, some of it is there because players were not intended to do this by themselves. I shouldn't have placated him there. I was stupid. Players are not intended to be doing this by themselves. At least not as the only way you play. And as a consequence, some of what I'm experiencing that feels unsatisfying or negative is it's because I'm soloing. Right? Just like some of the complaints I have are because I'm doing it at +2. Right, for the mist streaks and stuff. And like I explicitly realize it if I'm, say, doing a ×5 mission. This is for 5 people. I can't complain that it's too hard, right? But even if you're in a plus ×0 or ×1 +0 mission, it's still, the game itself was never intentionally meant to be soloed. for long periods of time, and certainly not as the exclusive going level 1 to 50 solo. Like they didn't even, not only didn't they intend you to do that initially, they didn't want us doing that. They actually put stuff in the game to prevent us from doing that. Right? Like the street hunt missions in places like Paris Park and Boomtown, which were hazard zones and very hard to solo back at the beginning when people didn't know how to play the game and everything. You pretty much had to group up. And they did that on purpose. They wanted us grouping up. Right? And so I do want to point out we have the banker, and I'm now going to look and see what else do we need in the day jobs. Ouroboros, university. Let's do the university one since we're here. So we're gonna stop here, but yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to my viewers, because if somebody hadn't pointed that out, and it wasn't really meant as, I don't think, as any sort of a correction or an argument against me. It was just pointing out, those things probably aren't as annoying on groups. You're playing a lot solo, but if you had a group, one of your group mates wouldn't be debuffed while you were, and it wouldn't be such an unfair power. Like, I thought, that is 100% right, and I never think about that. I never discuss it that way. I never think about it that way because I'm so used to just soloing everything. So I do want to correct that as well. So anyway, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode, and until next time, when we fight some more Richti, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been Soloing the Stalker on City of Heroes.